Hello?
You're getting good at
Yeah, we
these.
got it. I found it.
All right,
Okay.
we're good?
I'm getting good at this, yeah. All right, sorry
Okay.
for the delay.
As for the past 2 years, we are acting under Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 relative to the COVID. So we will be having a hybrid meeting, in person and virtual. If you are attending virtually and we have technical difficulties, the meeting will continue in person. So, first up is minutes of the January 18th, 2022 meeting. Are there any additional comments or corrections, edits at this time?
I got 3 sets. I put them all in, Susan, Craig, and Bert, so they're covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I move we vote to approve the January 18th, 2022 minutes as edited. May I have a second?
Second.
Bert,
All in favor? Aye.
unanimous, okay.
Okay. I am just going to quickly state the continuances at the beginning here, in case anyone is here for Little's Lane, extending a ramp and float, 12 Branch Street, a raise and rebuild, 274 Foster Avenue, elevating a single-family home, 202 Moraine Street, the Sealand Corporation, Red Gold Farm subdivision, and 76 Caroline Circle dock system. Those will all be continued to future meetings. So, we are now on to our de minimis activity roll. Business item number 1, 11 Trounce Island, removal of junipers and cherry trees for vista pruning in the buffer zone. Is anyone here to speak to this? Nope. The applicants may or may not remove several junipers. I would like to just note for the record that the trees in question are above the flood zone. However, all the other trees in front of them are in the flood zone. And what is happening is we're getting salt infiltration that is killing trees in the marshes. So I would rather hope these people choose not to cut those trees. But what we have here is Bill suggesting the following special conditions, allowing for up to 1 year to perform the activity before the de minimis expires, obtaining permission from the abutter at 10 Trounce, and leaving all root balls in the ground. So, do we agree this is de minimis? I move that we vote to ratify the de minimis activity for the removal of juniper and cherry trees in the 75 to 100 foot buffer zone at 11 Trounce Island. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Was that Art?
Rick.
Rick, okay.
Okay, 60A Marginal Road, generator stand on wood blocks in buffer zone and land subject to coastal storm flowage. The homeowner started the stand on blocks, but I assume it's now going to go under our generator stand matrix?
Yeah, and actually, this one was built on the block, so it needs a conservation permit. And my concept of a conservation permit ranges from the de minimis activity, which I think this is, to an RDA, to an NOI. So it wasn't an automatic de minimis activity. It's one you need to kind of debate on a little bit. I did get a couple of commissioners responding back positively, so I assume that the commission would want to move forward based on that.
Does anyone object to this being categorized as de minimis?
No.
In that case, I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for the construction of a generator stand on blocks approximately 75 to 100 feet from the salt marsh at 60A Marginal Road. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I got Jill on that.
Okay, business item 2, substantial determination and conservation permitting discussion. Do you want to address us, Mr. Finn?
I think everybody got the memo.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some discussion today between yourself and Mr. Grafton and myself. I have nothing more to say about the issue.
We have determined that the best path forward in most of these situations is going to be an RDA leading to a determination of applicability, or a notice of intent leading to orders of conditions, and it's obviously going to be on a case-by-case basis. We need to do some work on our regs, but given the cases that we have in front of us right now, we see a way to resolution for the two applicants that have been somewhat hamstrung by our conflict with the building commission regs. So, whoops. Do you want to say anything, Bill?
No, I think it's been a good debate. Craig's been involved, Bill Finn, Andrew Stewart, and I, and we've been fleshing out the concepts. It's form-oriented and it's non-form-oriented, as you've seen in your write-ups there. And to the point that we actually address, regs like the 307.2, which is the open pile foundation. That's going to give some relief. Andrew has reached out to DCR and also CZM, Andrew Stewart that is, spoken to them, and we've got benefit of that. We know that there's some very positive things that came out of it. The thing I would like to share with the commission is there's a building code that does not require a house to go up on piles if it's interior work only. So that gives us some relief for that component. However, there are still some tricky things that will ultimately need to be addressed in the regulations. But in the interim, there are tools to be used. And I think we can handle the 52 Jackson situation and the 226 Bay smoothly and as standalones.
So, I move that we vote to use the Notice of Intent, WPA Form 3, and Request for Determination of Applicability, WPA Form 1, for the majority of the designated building requirements associated with substantial improvement determination, and create cross-departmental lists of joint special conditions and activities assigned to each form. May I have a second?
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, that'll give a great deal of flexibility, so. And structure.
Item B3, discussion of 505.307.2 foundation requirements. This is the crux of our problem with coordinating with the building department. The language in the regulations needs to be amended. When we ratified the new regulations last March, it was considered a work in progress with the expectation that we would find items that needed tweaking, and this is one of them. So we are going to get together with Mr. Finn, Mr. Grafton, myself, and Vice Chair O'Donnell, if you agree.
I agree.
And reword this. And anybody else who would like to,
I'd just say no more than 3, so one other commissioner can join. It's not to be a jerk, but I just want to get that out there.
anybody else want to participate?
I wish I could.
You can decide at it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll hold it at the 4 of us for now. So I move that we vote to establish a task force composed of no more than 3 commissioners. That would be myself, Chair Hannafin, and Vice Chair O'Donnell, Mr. Finn and Mr. Grafton, to work with the Conservation Administrator, Mr. Grafton, to develop feedback for the Commission's review. May I have a second?
Second.
All in
Susan?
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now we have 52.
Madam Chair, can I make another recommendation?
Sure.
Not on this particular issue, but given that we're going to rework some of the bylaws and the language on this particular issue, and I would also suggest that we consider also taking a swing at adding another set of revisions around the piers and docks in the town of Marshfield. Given the continued ramp in applications that we're seeing, and the ramp that's expected to continue, over the coming years, along with, what the town's intentions are in terms of, what the town of Marshfield might look like 15, 20 years from now. I think to Jim Kilcoyne's credit, and I think Bert worked on that as well, we did a nice job of adding additional bylaws and regulations for the town of Marshfield based on a very complete analysis of all the other southeastern towns and what they did, from Barnstable to Chatham and so forth. So I would suggest that we take on that work as well.
That is absolutely on the short list.
Okay.
We are prioritizing this item because we've already come up against two situations.
Yeah.
So before, this will be hopefully easy to amend, get it ratified, and then this will be off the table.
Okay.
Then we can dig into the meatier
Okay.
topics.
Is it would be something that Rick and I could maybe start on and get something prepared for that moment when it's going to be, needed by the commission?
Absolutely.
Great, let's get
Yeah.
working on it.
Take the ball and run with it. Okay, item B4, 52 Jackson Street, substantial determination. And I see Mr. and Mrs. Gill are here. We have a solution for you, which will be for you to file a request for determination of applicability. Mr. Grafton
Yeah,
will work with you on that.
absolutely.
And once that is granted, that will allow Mr. Stewart to issue a building permit to you.
Okay. So a request of applicability?
Yeah, request for determination of applicability. You'll work with the conservation staff, Liz Anojian and I. You've already given us most of what we need. We just need to formalize it. One last thing we need from the commission. Typically, there's a deadline of 12 noon, 2 weeks before the next hearing. I'm assuming that you want to move this along to the next hearing, the 15th, rather than the 1st of March, but I'm not sure. Do you have the flexibility, or is the 15th preferred?
Yeah, the 15th. The earliest
Okay.
we can do it is-
So then, in that case, the commission, I'm humbly requesting that you consider a 24 to 48-hour relief so that they can fill this out. We have most of what we wanted because they prepared it, and we could get this done relatively simply. It's just a matter of filing it and closing it out. So it's a straightforward permit we can work on.
I do not object to waiving our typical deadline, given that this has been playing out for some time. Does anyone have a problem with that?
Nope.
No, not at all.
Okay. Then I move that we vote to require the submittal of a request for determination of applicability for the crawl space to be filled with clean compatible fill as per Chapter 505, 306.4, and additionally that we waive the filing
Deadline,
deadline
yeah.
to accommodate the Gills at our next meeting on February 15th. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so check in with Liz and I tomorrow, and we'll get you rolling. We have most of what we need, and you can even call us, and we can try to figure something out, but you're a priority. Yep,
Give me a call tomorrow.
yeah, and you got my cell. I gave you my cell. Okay, very good.
Thank you. Sorry you got hung up on that, but
This is a good outcome for you, though.
learning curve for everyone. Okay, item B5, 88 Nantasket Street.
Right, so is anybody here for this one? It's not, maybe on the phone here. I don't know, there's somebody, 617.
Is it Mr. Ciancio?
Yeah, maybe, or he has submitted additional information through his attorney's office too, so, that was just arrived today, sorry. That's fresh off the press. Is there anybody here for this item? Rick Grady, can you hear us?
Yes, Rick Grady here.
Okay, thank you, Rick. So is there anybody here to speak about 88 on Nantasket? Okay.
Oh, is that one of our projects? I don't
No,
know anything
Rick,
about-
I just knew you'd answer. You were Rick Servant, so I just called out to you. I just want to make sure everybody could hear. Thank you for being stalwart and responding. All right, so I'll try to summarize. So this project has an older outstanding order of conditions that was recorded. It goes back to 1988. The orders of conditions, I believe, were issued on July 9, 1988. And we had explained to Mr. Ciancio that he was going to need a request for determination of applicability, which we've received. The filing fee, a letter from the engineer, and then also the as-built. I think I waived the letter from the engineer at my level, sorry if I overstepped. We had talked about getting the as-built and then putting conservation markers on this property because it's been built out within the 25, and so not having the original approved plan handy, it's a little difficult how we would go about protecting that. So today, Liz received in the office a letter from Mr. Ciancio's, I believe, attorney. I don't see a CC on this. And from Sorgi and Minincello LLP in Hanover. And they basically submitted the request for certificate of compliance, no filing fee, and then an as-built that was December 12, 1988. I'll just pass it around, it'd be easier. So let's pass it around. This just came in off the press. I have it, I could put it up on the screen, but for just sake here. So in other words, what we have is a 7-month separation, and this is a septic as-built, and a lot of times the houses are closed out at the same time with the septics. Not having the original plan, I can't compare it, I don't have the letter from the engineer. However, we do have an as-built here that might suffice. The only dilemma is that how to get the conservation markers, if that's something the commission wants at this stage. So the question would be, is this as-built going to be considered adequate? And we have a 7-month gap. So I'm kind of appealing the commission's sense of pragmatism on this, and also timing, and any other concerns you might have. I know that it's been built out inside of the 25. There's a fence apparently down there, but no conservation markers.
And getting a new as-built is going to take 4 to 6 weeks.
Exactly. And probably $6,000 to $10,000 according to the,
$1,000.
yeah,
And Mr. Ciancio has sold this property.
right. Well, he knew this was coming before
Right.
it even happened, you know, because he got it the day of the sale. He was told by his attorney, look, you've got an outstanding order of conditions, and you need to get a certificate of compliance, and typically this means getting an as-built. So this as-built just showed up today. So we really haven't got a lot of time, I mean, literally hours.
And the new owner, I assume, is aware of.
I'm gonna, sometimes the attorneys tell both sides, and I don't know how much communication there is. I think this came through the buyer's side, I would imagine. Usually that's how these things happen.
Right.
The buyer's side tends to be very cautious and review everything with great detail.
Not quite sure what this shows us. Doesn't show any lot lines, doesn't show a wetland line.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a wetland line.
I think the purpose for the as-built was so that we knew where the wetland line and where the conservation markers were. And they're not on that plan.
Right, typically we get a current as-built for those reasons, plus if there's been any changes, they're also captured. Then the commission has it available to them. Hey, they put a pool in, you know, what to do then? Oh, there's like a stairs, you know, small things versus big things. So typically you need the as-built, so they're gonna appeal that this is what they want to submit, and I also agree that it doesn't meet the standards right now, and I don't know if that was submitted at all to the Conservation Commission for the purpose of closing out the house. So it certainly was used for the septic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they got the level of detail that the commission would normally get on an as-built.
So because it's so long ago, Bill, you don't have a folder on this?
Well, this particular one is AWOL, correct? One of the few.
Can we ask for a wetland delineation at least?
I had brought that up originally also, and then I was willing to waive it, you know, because, you know, I was trying to work with that, but now we've gone from an as-built with a wetland line with conservation markers to no wetland line, probably no conservation markers, and then an as-built that was designed really for the septic, and according to their standards. Now, it's Merrill, and I did speak to Merrill, it's one of their primary engineers, and he said, well, we can do this, but it's gonna take 4 to 6 weeks. And they may or may not have archives. And this may have surfaced because they said, look, we would have also had a septic, so go down and talk to the Board of Health, and maybe they got it that way, I'm not sure. But this showed up today, hours ago. So I would say this, that it clearly does not meet the current standards, but this was back then, and typically what the commission requests is the current requirements of the checklist. NAVD 88, we have all the different standards. Definitely no wetland line on it for sure, you know?
Well, getting a wetland line is not that onerous or expensive, is it?
It depends on who you get, and then there's the engineering. I mean, we have some excellent engineers on the phone right now. They could probably just tell you what it costs and their deadlines, but they're not this company, and each one is basically said the same thing. I know another company in town is 8 to 10 weeks out. These guys are 4 to 6 weeks out. The Grady's probably also have some kind of backlog, et cetera. So, you know, they're just all behind. That's that one element to it, and then there's the cost element, but that really isn't the commission's burden. I thought they were gonna come here tonight. I believe I sent them the information so that they could come here tonight, and they did provide this to us today. So I don't see anybody here to talk to us about it, commission about it.
Thoughts?
Just to understand, Mr. Ciance is the current owner and he's trying to sell it? or-
He sold it, I think 2 Thursdays back, you know, and so he's no longer the owner, but there's sort of some kind of a holdback that I'm not getting involved with, and I don't know what's going on exactly, but they do know that, I think that the current owners know that they want a COC on this, so they don't have any kind of lien or anything. That's typically why you want to get rid of it. And there may be something that changed that we don't know about. I'm not saying there has or has not, but that's typically a reason that anybody would want to get that closed out.
So it appears that it's not holding up the transaction, but there is a hold on some probably funds until this gets resolved.
Probably, and that,
So-
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's
No, the
about,
transaction, as I understand it, has taken place.
that's what I get too, but I'm
I-
not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why can't we ask for a wetland line and markers?
We can.
We
I
treat
just have to
everybody
tell,
the-
I have
we
to
treat
just-
everybody the same.
Yeah.
I don't care how long ago it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
So I did say that, but then there was, do I have to mobilize my attorney? Do I have to mobilize my engineer? I sent separate emails because Liz and I are receiving this. And I said, look, I can't guide you on any of that. I can just take this before the commission and we'll put it on for this meeting. I was sort of expecting somebody to be here. I'm trying to be a middleman on it and not be too onerous or anything like that, but I agree with Rick. Everybody should be treated the same, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we give some leeway to older plans,
Yeah.
but this has nothing, you know.
Right. Okay, so
And it's not holding up the transaction, right? That's already occurred.
So I'd like to just make sure I have a vote, because he's brought a lawyer and everything like that, and because, he's 4 to 6 weeks out, and I just want to make sure that the commission is in unison and unilaterally, directing, at this stage, because I think you have all the facts.
I think we need a wetland line and then markers.
Right.
Okay, you want a wetland line of markers?
So,
I think that motion's a little beat up back down there.
yeah, that was,
I did a bad thing,
that was a
a bad thing.
cut and paste. So I move that we vote to require a wetland delineation
Okay.
so that we can specify conservation markers.
And an as-built? Current as-built?
Well, do we need this guy to spend $6,000 to $10,000 on the as-built?
Well,
I would say
that's
no.
what,
I would say no.
I think that's a little harsh.
you want the wetland line, and then you want the conservation markers. The only problem there is that somebody could just knock over the posts later and they're gone, and they never got on a plan anywhere, and that's usually how you manage that. So what I heard was wetland line delineation and conservation markers.
Yes, and I think the fact that, we don't have the paper trail on this handicaps us a bit.
Bill, wouldn't having the markers on the plan, the wetland, help with disappearing markers in the future?
Yeah, that's exactly what we try to do, is really what we close it out saying that the conservation markers would be ongoing conditions. Now, this language in the orders didn't have that, but you still have that capacity to add it, the commission does. So to get the conservation markers and the wetland delineation would be great, but without the as-built, it kind of just is like water through your hands. That's what it ends up being.
Just for clarification, for a COC, don't we usually have to have an as-built?
Yeah, but unless it's exempted by the commission, which you're thinking about right now. So you do have that flexibility. And, if you want to exempt it, that's fine. I'll just tell them it's exempted,
I'm just asking. So the exemption is based on what?
It's just an old
It's an old,
issue.
it's an old issue, and we have a missing file. So,
I think it would be nice to have a as-built with the markers on it, but it feels a little punitive to me.
Yeah, I don't want to be punitive. I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
And that's my only reason is it's up to us to do a COC without an as-built based on, and that's what I was asking, based on what? You said, because it's old, we don't have a file on it, so. if
Okay,
that's
so the two things
reasonable,
are-
Then that's,
So the criteria are that, I would say the fact that it's older, really, I would not fall there. The fact that we don't have anything to actually compare it to unless somebody else provides it. So it's a unique situation. It's unique because the file, it may show up any moment, you know what I mean? We're constantly working, finding things, so there aren't many of these. This
Well,
would be
the other
like,
thing, does the deed reference a plan or anything? It's, the homeowner can do a little homework and try and figure this out.
the order of conditions would, and would, let me see if I can find it without blowing this.
I don't think we need to prolong this anymore
no,
for
I
tonight.
agree.
Alright.
Yeah, I was just merely asking that we can do a COC without an as-built. And
There is flexibility. Over time, we've seen the walls we bumped into, so
Got
we've
it.
tried to create some flexibility when you get a unique situation. This isn't happening every day,
Right.
okay, so I think there is a motion on the table to require a wetland delineation and conservation markers.
Right. I would s-
But because of unique circumstances, we are willing to waive the requirement for an as-built.
Right, and I would say 3 conservation markers, 2 on either property line, 1 in the middle, minimum.
You're looking for a second.
I am.
I will second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So they need to give us the fee also. All right, fee.
Okay. Item B6, annual town meeting. Conservation restrictions for Couch Beach and Mount Scargo properties. We took this up at our last meeting, but wanted to address it again with the full commission. Do you want to
Sure.
speak to Susan?
Sure,
Susan's
yes.
our expert here.
So as you know, this is a continuation of the discussion of this commission voting to support the open space article to provide CPC funding, which they have approved for the two conservation properties, conservation restrictions on the Old Mount Scargo property and the Couch Beach as mitigation for the ball fields, the Boys and Girls Club. I'm just sort of summarizing. And you all got a text of my comments from, I didn't want to have to read those two again, so I assume you all have had a lot of discussion about this, so I won't belabor any of that point. It was just, what I do want to do is open it up for your questions, but also just make 2 points. I just want to point out that this is an unusual circumstance and request from the Open Space Committee. It's not generally, we go forward. We're not looking backwards to try to put conservation restrictions on the lots of acres that the town already owns under Chapter 97 that does not have CRs on it. Most of the conservation land and land under town control was purchased long before the passage of the CPA, Community Preservation Act, by the town. Once that was passed, open space took over at land acquisitions, which the state requires to have CRs, third-party CRs on it. So that all that land that does not have CRs, we're not looking to go backwards and to spend money and to do that sort of thing. So I just wanted to let you know the context of this is being unusual, and the reason we're involved, as I have pointed out, as the former chair of the Open Space Committee was tasked with preparing these CRs with Wildlands Trust. And it's our desire to complete that process so that permitting, what was required in the original permits, is complete. And the opposition, it seemed, from a lot of parties was just, where was the money going to come from? Where was the funding? So because we often go to CPC for these types of things, we felt if it was worth a try, and they agreed. So that's sort of the context. The goal of the Open Space Committee is to go forward and protect what's left and go after land that has no protection, not land that we're trying to get additional protection on. So that's all I'm trying to point out. The other thing that I did, and also I just wanted to say, if anybody is not familiar with the Open Space Plan, on the conservation website, there is a link to that, and that will go into all of our goals and objectives and what we do, what we've done, and where we're going. The other point I wanted to make is one of the things that we didn't talk about was how will the CRs on these properties change public use? And the answer to that question is not at all. All the non-commercial passive recreation activities that are currently going on will continue. The only difference is that they cannot expand. Existing trails can be used, can be maintained as they always have been. Open meadows can be mowed on the schedules that they actually once a year. But that's typically the conservation recommendation for mowing fields. So those sorts of activities will stay exactly the same. The Couch Beach area, where Boy Scouts and other people have traditionally camped for years, on the CR, which I think you've seen, is a section that's been carved out, that activity will continue as it always has. It's about 3.4 acres. It's marked out on the CR that activity will continue. So really the only issue is no expansion of those activities can happen, no expansion of trails, and they have to follow the maintenance schedules. So I don't know if, not schedules, methods, you can't add pavement, those sorts of things. I did want to ask, we did put the conservation restrictions on the Google Drive, and I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read them, so I won't go into the details of what's allowed, what's not allowed, and just open it up to questions if you have any.
So our job tonight is, as a commission, to issue an opinion, a voted opinion, that will be considered at town hall when this gets voted on.
At town meeting, yes. It's
Town
just
meeting.
as the commission support the open space acquisition that will go through CPC to pay for these CRs. This town meeting will have the ultimate vote, even if everybody voted no, they would still, but our opinion will be part of the town meeting presentation. That will be known, how this commission what supports or does not support putting the funding for the CRs on.
Is there, the only detail I remember from reading the descriptions of the Mount Scargo parcel are that it overlaps with a watershed area? I mean, is there anything else that's sensitive on that particular parcel
Yes.
that would require
Yes, I do.
extra protection?
Yes, I do want to point out that, and I went back and checked all the minutes of our previous discussions on this, and one of the initial discussions was talking about the wrong parcel. So it is not the parcel on Mount Skirgo Road, which was the decommissioned well site. It's on Old Mount Skirgo, and it was the wrong parcel.
Okay.
The reason that this parcel does have natural heritage, endangered species, has several different actually categories of that. It's still within Zone 2 Water Protection District, and the issue in terms that people were concerned about it being completely surrounded by conservation land and that there would be no really risk of abutters, but it's actually not true. The upper corner of the property abuts the new Madura 2 apartment complex, so there is a direct abutter to that pending commercial development. And on the lower part, there are two privately developed residential lots that do abut it. So the risk of encroachment is actually something. It does have other conservation. It's mostly surrounded by conservation, but it does have 3 other areas where that's not the case at all.
Okay.
And it is of high-value land in terms of conservation, the way we would rank that with the endangered species, critical habitats, those sorts of things.
Susan, real quick, so was that one Dave Carrier was talking about?
Yes,
So
yeah.
just for clarity for everything, I think Dave was talking about that the area in general, that's my impression, because somebody else had asked me about that, so I've edited it out this way, just to give you the full picture. Down gradient, as Susan's saying, there's some really important water wells. And all these other parcels that you would see if you're looking at them right now tend to be conservation properties. There's a couple of parcels that are privately held and conservation restrictions. They're privately owned, but they've set aside a portion in conservation restrictions. They all have similar characteristics, topographic, trees, all this stuff. And then this property pretty much fits in with that. So what it does is it produces, I try to use the word water production because the water leaves, it gets underground and daylights, but I was told not to use it. It's a water protection area. And that's one of its critical things. And it's got WPRD, is that right? Wetlands Protection and Resource District, yeah. Coverage on almost all of it. So just to let that, I think that's where he was going with that, but he didn't really say that, okay?
So what we're saying is that the Mount Skirgo property has water value.
Yes, it does. It has
Without
drinking
going
water.
into the details about everything. One of the things that really concerns me about the couch is the text of the contract said no tents, no structures, with no provisions for the current site linked into the text of the contract.
Did it say permanent? No permanent structures, I think.
No permanent or temporary
Or
tents,
temporary. I wonder if
trail
that-
maintenance, and I definitely cannot go for that.
I would have to clarify that if they say they allow camping, so.
No camping, no tenting. I mean, I was surprised at how detailed and clear it was.
But on that particular parcel, they say camping is allowed. So we'll have to clarify.
Not in the text that I got.
I didn't
Yeah, I
notice.
saw that too.
No tents?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess you
I
can lay.
didn't read them, I just
Guess
did.
you can
what
lay on the
Craig said,
ground in
put
your
'em up
sleeping
there,
bag.
just-
Quite
Right.
thoroughly, but I think I was assuming that that area was
Yeah.
exempt from that particular activity.
I could not find an exemption for
On
that.
that one, okay, well, we'll have to check
And
that
you
out.
couldn't do trail maintenance or,
Oh, yes, you can do trail maintenance.
not in the text of the contract that I read. And,
What in
I think that's
particular?
real important. That's a piece of property that we want to encourage people to use our conservation lands. And
Right.
we've used it there, and trying to bring up kids so that they know how to use this and protect this kind of property, I think is invaluable. And
So-
saying, no, you can't do that, we lose an opportunity that we've been using.
I'm not aware that
That's-
I read that trail maintenance is allowed. I mean, I have text on
Is
that.
it, seeing the
So-
meeting for the town meeting is a ways off?
Yes, it is. It is. So we have time to clarify that.
Can we
Um,
I would say we table this, and that would, I think Joe's point is really well taken.
Well, I would
And we'd
agree with
get a
you because
clarification
I,
on that, and then,
my understanding was that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, let's get clarification
we
on
should.
it, because
We
I
should,
think
absolutely.
that's,
That was
Just
not my read on that.
Just one last comment, and we can, take this up and figure it out. But this land is to be set aside specifically for mitigation
Exactly.
for other areas that were developed for recreation. So it's a little different from all our other conservation land.
Right.
And I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think we'll find that some of that is allowed, but it needs to be evaluated and controlled.
yeah.
And I think that we should be doing that anyway, so I agree with on that.
So just to, oh, sorry,
just
go ahead,
last
Susan, you
year,
want to go or
clarification
whatever?
I don't want to preclude it if
Oh.
we do something.
Yeah, I understand, and I think that that's important, but in my notes, I'm reading this, it says, they allow for non-commercial passive recreational use of the property, which includes 3.42 acres designated for overnight camping, allows maintenance of existing footpath and wood roads, and they can mow existing cleared areas to the dimensions of existing conditions. So, my understanding, and I read this in a couple of places, allowed fishing, hunting, all sorts of other things that I won't get into, but I read that you could maintain these trails. In fact, you could do a lot of maintenance throughout the forest with permission and a permit. You just have to let them know what you're doing ahead of time, the Wildlands Trust. They even allow for if there's invasive species issues and you need to use herbicides, you can, with a permit and permission, de minimis use. They want, if there's anything that will improve the conservation value, such as treating invasives and removing dead trees and brush, those sorts of things, those are activities that are allowed with permission and following their procedures. So I'm surprised by the tent, I didn't read that as being not
This is the
allowed
beginning of the text on the
on,
contract.
I saw it too.
under the carve-out part of it? Because I wonder if that's,
Yeah, I'm wondering if the CR doesn't apply to,
to that area, see,
To that
that's.
area.
Yeah, because that's not making sense to me. You know what, we have
Maybe
two
some
people,
information out there.
Craig, yeah,
Mrs. O'Donnell.
I was former chair of the Open Space Committee, and I worked specifically with the Wildlands Trust to draft these CRs. And I believe what you looked at in the very beginning, it's a template from the state. And in the very beginning, I believe it might say, can't do this, can't do that. But then in the second section of that CR, it would tell you what is allowed. And I don't have it in front of me, but 99% I would say they are not going to touch what's happening at Couch now. The camping, the Boy Scouts, all of that will continue as it has been. And we are trying to protect, the mitigation land is to protect habitat that was destroyed, basically. It was a taking of that habitat by the ball fields and the Boys and Girls Club. So there will be certain things that you can't do on the areas that are being protected, but the area around Couch Beach and the activities that happen at Couch Beach now will continue.
I guess I have a slightly different take on all this. I mean, I agree with the concerns that Joe has, but I've slept in tents out at Couch Beach, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 nights when my kids were little. I've come by boat. I've walked in because the road was too muddy to drive on. I've driven in with a 4-wheel drive Jeep. And I realize that property is special, and it's been used by Boy Scouts and visiting groups to have overnights and camping. And it's a great place to do that, to set up tents. And but why not? And I realize we're trying to mitigate for other lands that have been taken, but why not take a bolder step and make it a somewhat better place to do those sorts of things? Places where you can park your cars so people aren't parking everywhere and running over everything in sight, because that's what happens every time I go out there. A decent fire pit, maybe instead of those ugly uneven stones that people sit on around the fire pit, which are dangerous, and I've seen kids trip on them, put some decent benches around that, Not talking about anything that's gonna destroy the environment. You could build a little hutch to put firewood in. Would be nice to have a porta potty or something out there, so people aren't going to the bathroom all over the site. You know, somebody would have to come up with a creative plan to do these sort of things to be supportive, but I would rather see the town take a bold step and allow the thing to be used, instead of having a restrictive CR on the thing and, you know, allowing only what's gone on before. I think we need to move forward and try to attract people to use the place.
I think you really need to read this thing and realize that the Couch Beach part is carved out. It's not part of the mitigation land.
It's
I
confusing.
correct,
I've read the
Susan?
CR a few times and found I misinterpreted something. I had to go back, because it does give a template in the beginning of everything that's typically not allowed, and then you go back and read the specifics
But you
for
just,
this
you just
site.
said, Susan, that what's occurred there in the past can continue, but nothing else can occur with
Well,
the
it can't, you can't
CR.
expand it. I didn't say nothing else can occur. They said the activities can't be expanded. That would have to be taken up with Wildlands Trust. Anything that you do on a site, you need written permission for. I mean, as you know, when we, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say
So-
two things. Not to cut you off, you got this, whenever you're ready.
That's all right, go ahead.
Okay, so, Bert, and then I'll come back to that. The mitigation component, Natural Heritage has got two pathways. They'll go Article 97 and under Conservation Commission, and they're satisfied with that, but they maintain oversight. Like, you can't just do anything. You have to actually get their okay. So that's one element. And the other thing was, I think there's a procurement process too, so maybe it's gonna be Wildlands Trust and maybe it's not, you know what I mean? So that's something to keep in mind. So these are things I'm observing as I'm going along and picking up the tea leaves here.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Finn.
Yeah, I'm speaking as a citizen of Marshfield now and not your consultant, so I just want to make that.
I mean, we're not getting billed for this comment?
Well, you're not getting billed for anything.
Okay.
Lucky you. I have a good amount of experience with, every other state refers to what Massachusetts calls CRs, every other state refers to them as conservation easements. Massachusetts is the only state in the union that calls them CRs, or conservation restrictions. Number one. Number two, it's very typical of conservation easement to carve out a particular set of properties, portions of the property, that are not restricted by the easement, or the restriction, if you want to call it. And it's not that you can't do anything new, they're just carved out. They are not controlled by the easement itself. They're carve-outs. And that's typical, it's normal. That's in all the easements I've ever seen. So what Ms. O'Donnell's describing and what Susan is describing and your concerns are dealt with, I believe, in these carve-outs. So that it's not that they can't improve them, because anything, virtually anything can happen in the carved-out area because it's not covered by any restriction. So
But
they can be
doesn't it have to
improved.
be approved by the third party?
No, they are carved out. So that what has to happen is that the third party approves anything that's covered by the easement
Yep.
or the restriction. But if it's not, if it's a carve-out, there's no restrictions, generally speaking, in the carved-out area. So you can improve it, you can change it, you can maintain it. And I will tell you this, from my experience, I'll give you one example of a property that I used to monitor for a national organization, which has a wildlife lands trust division. And by law, these easements or restrictions have to be monitored for the purposes of the Internal Revenue Service, because many times there are tax breaks associated with these easements. And I used to do that for this national organization's Wildlife Lands Trust. And I can tell you, it's very important to have that monitoring process take place. And I'll give you an example of one site, which was in southwest Connecticut, that I used to monitor. And the people that gave the easement passed away. And the property is a beautiful piece of property, pretty large piece of property, with a beautiful stream running through it, and a waterfall and a number of other things. In the carve-out area, they were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do. So when it was inherited by the children, one of the children decided he was going to build a very large house in the carved-out area, which he could do because there was no restriction on it. However, to pay for this house, he decided he was going to mine and timber the back part of the property, because the back part of the property had an old granite quarry on it. So he reinstituted the quarry operation and started timbering the property to pay for the house that he was building in the unrestricted area. And I happened to stumble across that. Make a long story short, he had done quite a bit of damage to the property. But if it wasn't for the monitoring provision, nobody ever would have known this happened until the property was really destroyed. So the monitoring that's associated with these conservation restrictions and easements is very important. And you spoke about earlier what kind of the town of Marshfield is going to look like 25 years from now. The selectmen already have received last week or the week before last some briefings on what the new zoning provisions are and demands, if you want to call it that, for affordable housing are in MBTA communities serviced by the MBTA. Marshfield happens to be one. There's a lot of pressure coming down in a number of different ways for affordable housing, and Marshfield is going to experience those pressures just like everybody else. We have no idea what this town's going to look like 25 years from now, and I agree with you very strongly. But the important thing is to put these places in protection right now and monitor that protection, because we have no idea what kind of, even though they're town-owned or town-controlled, we have no idea what kind of pressure is going to be put on the town 25 years from now to provide housing for this or that, provide any other kinds of services, not just housing. So it's very important to put these restrictions on now while we still have the property available. And I can tell you that, you know, from my experience, what Susan is describing is perfectly normal. And those carve-out areas you can do, they're not restricted at all.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that background and that information. But I don't believe that all parcels in the town are created equal from the standpoint of the amount of protection they may warrant. Some are never going to be touched because nobody can get to them. And you have places like Couch Beach that are really special that maybe the town might want to do some extra things. So in a perfect world where you had unlimited budgets, you'd pay for all this protection and the monitoring with the CRs and the third parties and so forth. But I don't think we can just paint with a broad brush and just say we're going to put everything under CRs. There needs to be a process or some sort of a vetting process to evaluate these properties and make a determination, where do you want to spend the money? Because we can't spend the money on all these different things.
I believe that money's already available.
You know, we're going around in circles here.
Yeah,
We had
money
this
is moot in this
discussion-
case,
We had this discussion months ago, and, you know, Art came up with the, Art and Bill worked on the evaluation form.
Yeah, I saw the grid.
And I believe that we ticked the boxes on these parcels. Is that correct, Art?
Yes.
Well, we came up with it. I don't know if you actually ticked the
We
boxes.
didn't, right, we were in there's, so I think there's a second step on that. We did the first pass on it, and I would encourage that we do this
It was
and
excellent.
close the loop on it, because I think that would help us out a great deal.
Right.
I think where we are right now, though, is we need to be satisfied as to the carve-out provision.
Yes, and we
Yeah.
can
Correct.
clarify, get more.
Yes.
Absolutely, and that was a good explanation, because you actually, it's even more permissive than I had the understanding, that they still don't even need to have any permission to do anything from wildlands on that carve-out.
If the area is carved out, I think it's exempt.
It clearly
from the
is.
rest of the restrictions.
So it's even more expansive than I explained to you. I thought that anything that would happen, even in that area, they would need permission, but apparently not.
But could you fix
But-
the road or maintain the road?
Yeah,
Isn't that in the carve-out?
If it's in the carve-out, yeah.
The carve-out, yes.
Yes. You can't pave it, you can't pave it, they will, but could I speak to the one thing about, all land doesn't need, a third-party CR on, and we can't paint a broad brush. I don't think there's any intention here of us doing that. And I've been working in open space areas since the early 2000s, almost 19 years now, and was involved in multiple acquisitions and over 200 acres of land in just the first few years, as has Karen. We rank land all the time, and the ranking form that you put together was excellent. Our ranking form takes that and goes into a lot more detail, right down to the size of the properties, who they abut, takes in, well, it's in the open space plan, I can't go through it all, but it's basically a very elaborate interpretation of what you have done. It goes even further than that. If this Couch Beach property isn't the most high-value land for protection, then I really don't know what is, to be honest. This meets every single category in the natural heritage endangered species categories that they have, and they break them down into priority habitat for rare wildlife. I had these all written down. Every single thing. Biomap 2 denotes critical landscape, and basically it talks about unfragmented land. It's in perfect condition for all these species to thrive, and that is so rare to have anything around here in this very highly developed area that is not fragmented open space. And it's that connectivity that keeps all the ecosystems alive. The riverine area is of critical importance. That whole upland forest area is outstanding habitat and unspoiled. And so because Couch Beach is there, and because we have this carve out and it's a loved property, that makes me even more concerned about needing third-party monitoring, because it could very easily expand. And I don't think people that go in the woods walking in these trails and using these beaches, a place like Couch, do it with the intention of harming nature or wildlife. They're there because they enjoy it. But we all know these resource areas, we measure by the foot, not the acre, and we lose them by the foot. And so people might just expand a little bit, and then before you know it, you're into these resource areas, which were supposed to be mitigation for a whole area that was lost. It's not just any resource areas, they're making up for habitat that we gave up, that was destroyed. And so, but even without that, even if it weren't mitigation land, having a property like that that's heavily used with public access, be monitored is critically important, because those trails, in California, I used to do a lot of trail walking, and there is this thing called social trails. You walk on trails, and then you want to get from point A to point B a little easier. You start, a couple of people walk this way, a couple of it continues, and then it turns into another meandering trail. And all because of the vegetation, the lack of vegetation, you can stand and look at these hillsides and see main trails and all these offshoots. And so that happens, and people's dog gets off leash, they run through, and next thing you know, everything's, the trees are matted down, then people start walking on it. So these things happen accidentally. I don't think people go in and just start slashing, but passive recreation can expand. And so I think the annual monitoring, making sure everything is remaining the same, the baseline data reports that we wouldn't have if they didn't do them, to compare things and make sure that that property stays as pristine as it is now, is really, really important. And that's my spiel. I'm sorry about it.
And could I just say, to Mr. Finn's point regarding the pressures on affordable housing and everything coming down the line, a lot of the threats to these sorts of properties don't come from outside, they come from inside. So, I think at the highest level of protection on some of these really extraordinary parcels is justified.
Just to tell you what I'd said before, Couch, you've got natural heritage there, you got Article 97, you got a ton of wetlands, riverfront, and resource areas that the commission as a unit can block development. And then the Couch Cemetery property also has conservation markers on the 50 that also send a message right there. On DPW, Craig and I were talking to the town planner about a fence being put up around Modera to keep people out, which is one thing. You have Water Resource Protection District, you also have Natural Heritage oversight there, they're not going away, and Article 97, and it's water protection, so you know DPW.
Don't talk too much more about water.
Well, just almost done, Bert, that's
The Red
it.
Gold subdivision
Just
is in the
need-
Water Protection District. so
One more
that
second,
tells
I'll be
you
done,
What
Bert.
can happen
One
there.
Yeah.
more second, I'll be done. So that's all I have to say, basically, is those items I think I pointed out before. And, I'm not trying to tax you here.
Well, I think that we need to continue this to the next meeting so that we all have time to satisfy ourselves as to the language in the conservation restrictions as written.
Yes, and I think we can also contact Scott McFadden, the land protection person at Wildlands Trust.
At Wildlands.
Yeah, and get any specific answers that people need more
And we'll
clarification.
put up the map showing the mitigation land versus the Couch Beach area. and-
Actually, I have it right here. I
Well-
have
Well,
these
what we'll
maps,
do
but
is
they're
we'll
not
scan it
on.
and we'll put it up, Susan, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, I thought you had all these, but you don't.
I do, I probably somewhere, but I mean, I just don't have them here for that. I have the CRs, because I was told to put the CRs up, and you had a letter. So there was a vetting process too. Do you want that dealt with also, so that you have all that stuff?
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
talk
so
about that.
I'll work with these two of you.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
Art
I've
and you,
got-
is Art and Susan good? Work with you guys on this vetting thing so that we can feed it into the commission? Sure. Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we vote to continue this to the February 15th meeting.
Second that?
Could we ask people in the, aside from Bill, we've heard from Bill, anybody in the audience have opinions on this stuff? Yes, sir.
I'll work 1167 Union Street.
12.
Here for something else, but,
1277.
huh?
You moved.
Well, sorry, 1277.
Where do I live?
That was only 20 years ago. But I'll just, I would say to Dick, as you were discussing it, he and I went upriver in our little boat and camped there years ago, and it's a great spot. And I love your ideas about, making a real fire pit there, because I'll go by there a lot of times, and there are 2 or 3 little fires or something people have going on.
Yeah.
Centralize it would be nice, it'd be really nice, and clean it up and do something for the town there. It's a beautiful spot.
Bill and I have had some very preliminary discussion about the camping area there and the possibilities for improving it. So that's certainly not off the table, and assuming it is in the carve-out, that's something that we have on our list.
So who would develop a plan to improve it if it were allowed to do that sort of thing? Would that be Concom? Would that be us?
I would think the following, it hasn't actually gotten transferred yet, and I don't think anything's gonna go wrong, but once it's Article 97, the Concom has care and custody. You can get obliterated and eliminated by the selectmen, but you guys are the operating body, that's all I'll say. And so you would, I think, wanna take control of that and manage it as a unit, and then through your staff, we can get whatever you need done. So I would encourage you to take ownership of something like that.
Well, for an example, the Pratt Farm property, that was bought by CPC several years ago, under control of conservation, has a wildlands CR on it. The Open Space Committee brought forward a plan to put in trails with a couple footbridges and picnic table and a parking area. That was all done there. It would work exactly the same way.
Okay.
And you go to CPC for funding for that, you need someone to manage the project and.
Right, and RTC also could be a partner for any number of things, like the path. They were very successful at getting a ton of reimbursement funds for the Bridle Path Rail Trail, so they've become a very solid unit. They don't know anything about this, so I'm not obligating them, I'm just saying it's a possibility. So sometime, there's another creative element to this that could manage this and also protect what needs to be protected.
The other reason I'm so passionate about Couch Cemetery, not only laying on the ground with my kids and other families' kids, but a couple years ago, I bought one of the last available cemetery plots over there. So if I'm going to be looking at this thing for a long time, I want it to be nice.
Well, see, we want to keep it
We
good
want
for
to
you.
keep you
That's the
nice
goal.
and
This is
protected
called,
on the ground.
Perpetuity.
he's looking for perpetuity. You stole it from
Perpetuity.
Susan. Stole
I'll
it
be
from-
there in perpetuity.
So, Mr. Verkeling, what's your address again?
1277.
What's that?
1277.
Right, and then,
More pressure for
Karen
development
O'Donnell,
when
what's
they
your
gotta
address,
enlarge
please?
that place.
And then they enlarged it, right?
What, what's Karen O'Donnell's, what?
90 Summer Street.
90 Summer, got it. And then we had Bill Finn. What are you at Dog there, Bill, please?
96 Dog Lane.
I didn't get all that, sorry, everybody.
Okay,
No, no.
and so we have a motion and a second to hold this for the next meeting. All in favor?
Killing me.
Aye.
12 what? Summer? 12 what?
Union.
Union, all right. 12 Union, all right. All right then.
All right, we are
That plot
now
was
on
only
to
$700.
public hearings.
Who's the second on that one?
They were on sale.
I'll take credit.
Craig, who's your second on that?
All the way down there, right?
I thought it was Bert.
Okay, it's Bert then.
I'm sorry, it was Joe.
Joe then, all right, whatever you say.
And then we all waited in our spots and
All right.
Excellent, we're on to the hearings, and then we got we already did the continuations, or do you want to rock and roll through them, or how do you want to play that?
Let's do, shall we do the hearings and
Yeah,
then we'll do the
whatever,
continuations
yeah,
so that
whatever.
people don't have to. Okay, this is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability by John Shea, 11 Plymouth Avenue, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Ring.
All right, here's your file there, Joe.
I'm glad you caught my attention because I thought we had one more between these two.
Did I miss
No,
something?
you didn't.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't tell you about the taxes and everything before I did that.
So, Bill, we have all administrative.
Yeah, we got the
Taken care of.
taxes, they're covered, and they paid the filing fees, and there's no need for a DEP number on this one. No butters need to be notified either, so you're all set.
Okay, that makes it easy. So this is a project that, I guess it was caught by the building commissioner for some work that was done, a pool that was in the yard and some work that was in the 100-foot buffer. And it's been sent to us to get an RDA. Is there somebody here who wants to talk about this?
Mr. Shea told me he's gonna be, go ahead, Mr. Shea, you there?
Yeah, I'm on the Zoom call.
Can you
Yeah,
state
just-
your name for,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just state your name and address for the record. We kinda know, but we should do it anyways.
Yeah, John Shea, 11 Plymouth Avenue.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so I filed for a permit for the pool, and during the COVID restriction time. And I currently put in a permit to do a deck extension to attach the house to the pool. And after meeting with Bill and going through the process, we came to this determination that an RDA was required, so phase 3.
It's a pretty tight property that's pretty much all built out, and I don't see there's a whole lot of other options. Bill, do you want to have any comments on this?
No, I'm just looking for maybe, just to kind of give you a glance at it real fast, if I'm able to make that work. It looks like I'm having trouble. There we go, and voila, it looks like we are going to hopefully be in business. All right.
Yes.
So you see right down here, oh boy, what happened there? The elevation 8 where this cursor is kind of hovering down in here, there's the wetlands right there. So it's right on the property edge. They really can't do much different. They've had multiple permits on this property over the years. The pool got away from us for whatever reason. It's after the fact. I think the commission would have approved it, so I didn't charge them the double fee on it. And it's got an extension on the extension of the deck up in here. So, in other words, I think this project really, within the terms of the buffer zones, it's something you normally would approve, so I felt that the RDA was applicable. They've gotten pretty close, obviously, next to the edge over here, but it was all permitted before. I have no issues with this project.
Commissioner discussion?
No, straightforward.
Yeah, I think so too. Any public discussion? Hearing none. Seeing nobody looking at me in a way that says comments, I would like to propose a motion to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a negative determination number 3 with special conditions. And Bill, would you care to
Yeah,
outline the specials for us?
Right, Mr. Shea, so you're going to ensure best management practice and building codes are followed, as well as the building commissioner comments as follows. Both structures are located outside of the flood zone. Standard building code requirements will suffice. No inspections have been made on the building permit for the pool, and it should not be filled with water or used until it's been inspected by the building department. Before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits. See the Conservation Administrator for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the work approved. The approved work activities. That's it.
Any others? No others? Okay.
Good. Negatory.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Art.
All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Remaining for a no, motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Shea, would you be so good as to touch base maybe within 24 to 48 hours and get us going on that? Because we're going to work on your paperwork and do your building permit as quick as possible.
Great, thank you very much. I'll reach out tomorrow.
Much obliged.
Okay. Next up, I am going to recuse.
Okay, Craig is recusing. Craig.
Yeah, this is 535 Plain Street, in compliance with the regulations, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Code of Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held at the Marshfield Conservation Commission Tuesday, February 1st, to consider the request for a determination of applicability filed by Burke Enterprises, P.O. Box 2809, 5 Chestnut Street, Duxbury, Mass. Determine whether the work, automated pay station kiosk depicted in the plans is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, and whether the area of work depicted in the plans is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinances or bylaws of the town of Marshfield. And the hearing officer is Joe.
Thank you. So this is a project to confirm. Bill, I think you did just drop off all the administrative actions.
Yep.
We're taken care of, so I want
Yep.
to confirm that.
Correct.
This is a project to put pay stations in an existing parking lot in a very tight space. So they're going to dig up the parking lot, put in the stations, and then put everything back. So I don't see this as a big issue because it's already disturbed. Is there anybody here who wants to talk about this?
Yeah, Nick Vercoloni, one of the owners of Verk Enterprises. We are putting in the pay stations, as he spoke, on a previous paved area. Dave Christman will go into further detail. I just kind of wanted to give you the background of why we're deciding to do this. Recently, over the summer, we upgraded the inside of our tunnel. We're trying to basically bring what has been there up to today's standards in terms of watching a car efficiently, quickly, and correctly. And with the automatic pay stations, the way it works is you can form 2 lanes rather than 1, and with the end goal of less cars sitting in the parking lot waiting to go through the car wash, and create it more efficiently so cars are going in and out of this property quicker. So you don't have cars just sitting there waiting. It allows 2 cars to pass at once through a loop system, so it all stays correctly in the queue, and it's basically unmanned. It's just technology is advancing so fast.
What is your name again? For
I'm Nick Vercoloni.
Nick Vercoloni. Address, please.
1277 Union.
1277 Union. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No problem.
Yeah.
This has been going on.
Actually, you moved to Pembroke.
I did move to Pembroke, but my license still says 1277.
Don't tell anybody, okay? All right.
I'm still registered under 1277, so.
Alrighty.
They keep putting each other in line.
1067, you haven't lived there in 20 years.
All right.
So the end goal is to just kind of make it go quicker, easier, less dwell time for customers to be sitting there, and just efficient. Car washes all over making this change, and we're just trying to get caught up at this point.
Any questions for them?
Dave will go into more of the finer details.
I'll just run through this very briefly.
Great.
We have a plan up here.
Yep.
My name's Dave Crispin, 803 Stemmer Street, Boston, Mass.
You're a consultant guy, yeah, Dave, is that right?
The bottom left corner of the image there has a rectangle there, which is about the space of 2 car spaces at a supermarket. So from here to the wall to the other wall. That is currently paved. It's at the middle of it is at the 50-foot buffer zone, which you can see going right through the middle of that. The contractor is telling us that for him to remove the pavement, put the wires and whatnot in, concrete pad, and these little canopies that go over the thing, is a couple of week job. I'm sure the Verbalons would like to get that going as soon as the weather permits, which I think at this point is a month or so out. In my professional opinion, no change in impervious cover, no change in runoff, no change, and no intensification of use. This is a convenience issue, really. So I think it's pretty simple. A lot of that cross-hatching, by the way, is pavement markings that are proposed,
Right.
which will channel cars. It looks like a lot of activity, it's just pavement markings.
Because your site's pretty much closed by that fence that's marked in the black, I believe.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, and we are talking about putting erosion controls around the downstream end of all the work.
They stated right here, these are basically proposed traffic cones, and then they've also talked about over here, proposed traffic, pavement markers. So it's really minimal. It's using a previously disturbed environment right here and channelizing the flow.
No gift shop?
Not yet. I'm thinking about it though.
I think if we put you guys together with Rick, we'll never get out of here.
Don't laugh,
We
Bill.
keep
If
them
you've ever been to a car wash in California, there's a gift shop, a liquor store, there's a towel drying station, and it's a whole social scene.
Liquor store. Now we're talking.
Yeah, yeah.
C-store
So-
type thing, you know?
Any discussion by,
Nope, I use the
Commission
site all the
We're kind of
time.
hoping, based on my discussion with Eric Flint before he left, he felt that this would be a negative determination, there would be no further permitting, hopefully this is where we'd like to be.
Yeah.
member of the public discussion? Anyone out there on Zoom land? Bill, do you want to say anything else? I did forget
The only thing I'd say is this, is they're great, and they're doing a fantastic job. If the fence gets knocked over, they'll put it up. But if you sell it, right, what happens then? It looks like we've got a next generation that's gonna stay in there. The only question I had, and this could be overkill, is conservation markers on their fence post? Maybe. It's just a thought. We always ask these questions.
That's the only thing I could find when I looked at this. And we always ask for conservation markers. Is there objection to conservation markers?
Oh, the idea was just to put them right on the existing fence,
Right on the existing
right?
fence. Yep.
That's fine.
So if you guys sell the property, then somebody else comes along, they might not do as good a job as you guys are doing.
Can you describe to me what a conservation marker is? Is it
Yeah.
a granite bound or a
I got them, they're
wooden post?
discs about like this, we'll give them to you,
Yeah.
and you can just go out and tack them up, and that'll wrap it up. We don't even need an as-built or anything on an RDA.
So
This
they
can-
go on the vertical or?
Yeah, you know, they're on the post, so the post's right here, just jam them, tack 2 nails up, and you're up and running.
Nail or
And we
screw
have
right
them.
onto the wood.
Oh, okay.
Or you can screw them in too, yeah, however you want to fix them, yeah.
No worries.
All right, we'll just give you a handful of those, and you can sprinkle them around.
So you have a large number of provisions.
Page 10, I believe, and suggests a positive 5 bylaw. So you want me to read those?
Sure.
Ensure best management practices and building codes are followed before commencing the work. Obtain all pertinent permits. Post conservation markers as needed on the existing split rail fence to provide added protection and awareness of the proximity of the wetlands beyond. See Conservation Administrator for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
And so I would like to make a motion that we vote to issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a negative determination number 3 with the special conditions that Bill read.
Second?
Susan seconded.
Thank you, Susan. All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, we'll get
So
Greg.
there's nobody left, so it's 5-0, 1 abstain, or 1 recused.
She's recused. So what happens on a recusal, an abstain, she'd be here, and she isn't voting.
I know.
And a
that's why I'm
recused
just-
is getting out of the
That's why I'm
room.
specifically stating it
Yep.
for the record.
Good, good. Okay. All right, so Craig.
Can't wait to try it out.
All right, then. We will go fetch Craig
We
now.
don't need any further applications from us.
You're good.
You're good.
Good.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Yeah, did a nice job.
Thank you, have a good night.
I like your hat.
I like your touchless wash.
Touchless wash?
I love that. I go there all the
It's a
time.
very special clientele, because like some people,
really?
They're afraid of it.
hate it, you know, because it doesn't always get rid of the, like the
You
fine.
get little dots, but you
Yeah, so.
No, but it's so
Nice to meet you,
nice.
Nick.
We're trying to appeal to everyone, I've seen you too.
Yeah,
Been
come
going
on
here
down
for
and we'll
years.
give you some markers and you can put them where you think they're right, you
Of
know?
course, he's retired, so it's gonna be something for the retirement. We'll do.
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
a little busy nowadays.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Well, thank you guys, thank you.
Adios. That's nice. All right, then.
I'm getting married in April.
I knew that when they were
Like
up.
Crocodile Dundee.
I love it.
Yeah. You can get away with that too, Bill.
I got one of those.
Do you? Same one?
With a brown band,
Yeah.
not brown leather band instead of a silver thing. Yeah, it's a rain hat.
Okay, we are on to the next. This is also a new hearing. I will read the ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. Public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022. To consider a notice of intent filed by Jason Muchetti, 78 Earl Door Circle, for upgrading a failed septic system at 773 Summer Street. And the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Right, and Bert, your taxes are covered. Your butters were received back 1/20, or confirmed January 27th. Legal ad is sent out the 19th of the month and published on the 26th.
Okay, so all administrative tasks are completed. And I believe I saw Mr. Grady up there.
Yes, Rick Grady from Grady Consulting. Sorry about the video, it's not great quality here.
I'm getting your plan up
Okay,
here.
are you hearing us okay?
Yes, I am. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead and proceed with your presentation.
All right, thank you, Rick Grady from Grady Consulting. This is an existing home at 773 Summer Street. It failed the Title V inspection upon sale this past summer. Jason Lucetti purchased the property. It's currently served by a 1,500-gallon septic tank in what was an original leaching pit, shown in the lower left-hand corner there. The leaching pit, I believe, is about 28 feet off of the Hannah Ames Brook, is delineated in the top left corner. On sheet 2, we had actually done a schematic of what a conventional leaching field would look like on this property. We do understand the sensitivity of the wetlands and especially the proximity to the Hannah Ames Brook there, which is a perennial stream. So that image there that you're pulling up depicts what would be a typical septic system by current Title V. We thought this was a good property to look at alternatives to a conventional system. So what we proposed is an Advantex AX20 cartridge recirculating treatment system and a bottomless sand filter. So with the use of this advanced technology, we're able to take that conventionally sized system and shrink it to a 4.75 foot, approximately 5 feet by 20 foot, bottomless sand filter. The treatment will treat that to a very high quality, and that's why they'll give us that relief for the bottomless sand filter for the reduced size. So with that, we're able to improve the setbacks from the current setbacks for the existing leaching pit, which is likely in groundwater, to a treatment system to provide better water quality, and we think it's a perfect solution for this property. We brought the location of that bottomless sand filter up as far away from the wetland resource area as we could, maintaining 10 feet off of the existing water line, which comes in along the right-hand property line and under the deck. We did meet with the Board of Health last night and received approval from the Board of Health for the construction of the system. We had proposed erosion control during construction. We've been working with Bill on proposed conservation markers, which are depicted on sheet 1 of the plan as well. There won't be any increases in flow. It's an existing 3-bedroom. It'll stay a 3-bedroom with the IA treatment system that is proposed. Board of Health will require a deed restriction to keep it at 3 bedrooms. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Bill, your comments?
Well, you and I coordinated Bert on this one, and I think we both agree this is a pretty important brook here. And the Grady's have done a great job, Luchetti's as well, trying to come up with a system that'll have minimal intrusion. The future of this house, I asked Rick about it, and he said it's to go up. You know, anywhere they go, they're going to be, encroaching, they're going to need variances, etc. We talked about conservation markers, which you'll see. I got to get an arrow here that's going to have a different color, but you can see one down here, here, all along. So you have 6 total conservation markers on the revised plan that Rick put together on Saturday the 29th, probably before the storm hit. Thank you, Rick. And in addition,
During the storm.
oh, during the storm, good for you. You had power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And notice that he signs digitally, which is good. He's an impressive guy. All right, this wetland flag 4 up here bumped out on account of the fact that I found some additional spice bush. The neighboring lot in that direction is also going to be up for sale, and so similar pressures will be coming. John Zimmer did that flagging as well, and Rick was good enough to push this one out. We can work with John Zimmer when the other project comes up, which is under Morris at this point in time. And, I think that, pending that, that's some of the important elements. The other thing is you're so close to the brook that, things come into mind like chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, fungicides, salts and de-icers, and you want to limit that. So I thought I'd sprinkle that in there. I did chat with Bert about most of that. So I thought this was a good place to work that in. We seem to all be on the same page. Mr. Luchetti was, cleared the conservation markers and the movement of the flag, so he's on board and he's becoming a good steward from that perspective as well. That's all I have.
Okay, Bill. If this just goes up on the existing foundation, is there any further permitting required from us, or is this it?
I would say no, because if they're not going to do any more disruption, then we don't have to deal with that. I think on the special conditions, I did include our standard language. Any additional ground surfacing not shown on the plan noted in general information item 8, whether pervious or impervious, shall require the Conservation Commission review. So if they break out of that footprint, then they're coming back for either a request for amended order of conditions, a de minimis under the as-built, or a brand new NOI. One of those 3.
Rick, this is a little outside of the septic system, but looking at the lot lines, where will the parking for this house be?
Sure, that's actually a really good question here. They do park just in front of the existing stairs going up to the deck, and they do have an easement on the abutting property, so their existing grass driveway is actually on the neighbor's property, somewhat off of the existing easement, but they do have an easement from the neighbors for parking along the lot line.
Okay, so that easement is for the benefit of that lot. That's what I didn't understand.
Correct. One thing to note on the bottomless sand filter too, you'll see that cross-hatched line around the filter. They require this to be raised above grade, about a curb height, so that nobody parks on the bottomless sand filter. So this will also serve as a barrier where no vehicles will really be able to go any closer to the resource area than those modular blocks that we're using to surround the sand filter.
Very good, understood, thank you. I'd like to open it up to the other commissioners. Any comments or questions?
None here.
Nope, looks straightforward, Bert.
Don't hear anything? I'd like to open it up to anybody from the public. I don't see anybody in the room. Is there anybody on the Zoom meeting? I hear none. Bill, you mentioned some of the conditions as far as the chemicals. Do you want to
Yeah.
push that out any further? Or?
Yeah, I can probably summarize it pretty quickly. First off, before commencing the proposed work, all standard except, Rick, we'd like to put them to post the 6 permanent conservation markers before getting started. This will be discussed when they have the building permit pre-con meeting with us, so that will be one element that'll come on the front end. During the construction of the proposed work, all general conditions. The building commissioner mentioned this is inside of the FEMA flood regulations, so I've added NFIP FEMA regulations, Rick, but it looked to me from your presentation that the FEMA flood is just outside of the building. So I'm just putting that in there for purposes of, I'm leaning towards the town official right now, but you guys will work out the details. Any additional ground surfacing not shown on the plan noted in Section A, General Information, Item 8, whether pervious or impervious shall require Conservation Commission review. The use of herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, and fertilizers are prohibited on the premises. The use of salt or chemical deicers is prohibited on the premises. Those will all 3 of those will carry in perpetuity as ongoing conditions also. So I won't repeat them, but they're also going to be part of the post-construction of the proposed work, ongoing conditions. And that's pretty much it. It's a great project. You've really hit this one grand slam out of the park there, Rick, and I'm looking forward to meeting Mr. Lucetti and getting to know him on the building permit, pre-con, and, hopefully he'll be a great steward out there.
Very good. It's an interesting property, so we're looking forward to seeing it too.
Okay, thanks, Bill. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions as stated by Bill. Have I got a second?
Second.
Second, Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good.
Unanimous, Bill.
Very, very good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rick.
everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was a well.
Okay, next up, another new one. In compliance with regulations of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, to consider the notice of intent filed by John Maconiatis?
Very good.
Okay, 12 Bailey Terrace, and the hearing officer is, once again, Vice Chair O'Donnell.
And Bert, your taxes are covered on, we were confirming 121, butters on 126, legal ad sent on 119, and published on 126. Here's your folder.
Okay, thank you. So is Rick Sabat going to present for you? Okay, Rick?
Yes.
You hearing us okay, Rick?
Stemek and Taylor, presenting for John and Tony Mechanitis, who I believe are both there in the audience tonight. I don't know, Bill, if you have a chance, can you pull
Yeah,
that up?
very good. Give me a moment, Rick. I'm new at this.
Sure. Yeah.
You want your plan, man. All right, so let me get in there.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
I think
see.
you're doing a great job running the show there, for sure.
Don't jinx me, okay? Whatever you do.
Yeah.
All right, what is the name of the street? This is Bailey, right? All right, very good. And there's 2 plans in there. You want the foundation plan or the site plan?
Site, please.
All right, then. So we go in here, and we say share screen, and we go there, and share away. All right, I will zoom in, okay? Tell me where you want to be, when you want to be. Is that good?
All right, that's a good start, that's perfect.
Okay.
So this is a residential project, number 12 Bailey Terrace, where essentially it's a deck project, a driveway, and a patio project. This existing home was built in 1998. When the home was built, it was really built really close to that top of that slope there, and very close to the existing house is partially in the 25-foot buffer. So the house is sort of jammed up against towards the resource area there. We're proposing let me start over. We're within the buffer zone of the edge of salt marsh. You can see the 25 in through the 100 foots are all laid out on the plan. The house is atop a very steep slope that drops down to the salt marsh. The flood zone is at the toe of the slope and doesn't impact the project here. But essentially we're proposing some deck work, some driveway work, and a patio. I'll start with the front deck, which is an existing deck that's there that we're proposing to remove and replace with a new, slightly enlarged deck. A brand new rear deck, which is a second-story deck. I don't know if you got a chance to get out to the site, but in the back, the grade is a lot lower there, and this deck is going to service the main living floor, and it would be about 10 feet off the ground in the rear there. We're also proposing a connector between the two, the front and the rear deck. It is a metal catwalk. It does not have any ground supports. It's to connect the front and the rear deck just to make it flow, so you have a connection around the house. Between the front and the rear deck is our wish to do that. We do realize that the house is right at the 25 foot, and most of the work is out of the 25, but there is a portion of that catwalk that there's just no way around it. To wrap around the corner of the house, you're hanging it over into the 25-foot buffer. The front deck, the existing deck, is currently within the 25 foot. We actually shaved that back, kind of improve that and pull it out a little bit, just with angling of the deck to keep it outside the 25-foot buffer. Same as the rear deck, we did as much as we could to keep it outside. That front and rear deck are both going to be supported on wood posts, and again, that catwalk that wraps around is freestanding with bracketry on the building. There won't be any supports in the ground there near the top of the slope. To the driveway in the front, there's an existing paved driveway and walkway area there. The homeowners are proposing to remove the pavement and put down a pervious paver surface. The existing driveway is about 536 square feet of pavement that will be coming up, and it will be replaced with a pervious paver driveway that's about 806 square feet. It's not just a driveway, as you can see, they're infilling the alcove with the front porch, and an entry onto the new deck will also be pervious pavers. In the rear, below the second-story deck, we're proposing another patio area there. Kept it about 2 feet outside the buffer in the existing lawn that's there. It's 475 square feet of pervious pavers that we're hoping to use in that area. And, excuse me, lastly, those were the three main parts of it, is those things that I just reviewed. We did our best to work up against the buffer, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have.
Thanks, Rick. Bill, your comments?
Yeah, I mean, I just picked up on something I missed. First off, the catwalk, which on your write-ups, they've got no ground supports. They're hanging it off the wall there. So, yeah, they've closed the gap to 19.5 away from the top of that deck, but that's a coverage, and that's not actually an alteration. I was interpreting it as an alteration. The original plan allowed them to get down to, I think, 24.5. What did I do with my notes? Yeah, Rick, it was the original plan was approved and allowed up to 24.58 of alteration, but this is coverage, so take that in consideration in light of what I had commented before with regards to the catwalk. With regards to the impervious table, I was looking at Rick's, oh boy, I gotta get a new kind of mouse here for someone. This right here is actually crusher run, or I believe it's crushed gravel. The crushed gravel, depending on how fine it is, might be pervious, but the crusher run, I assure you, will not allow water to pass through it. So the question is, do we actually have pervious surfaces here? Because that right there is the basis for the hatched areas, which are the basis for the impervious table. Now, if that were to be clarified and to be definitely pervious, then your impervious table seems to be working for you. Otherwise, you're picking up these two areas and adding them back in as impervious, because crusher run is not pervious material. When I was out there, it looks like there's been some cutting of trees. They're primarily sumac, and they're being cut and just dropped in place. So there's sort of a cut and slash, you might say. And yeah, they get in the way of the view and so on, and I understand that, but they're part of the vegetated area over there, and they're lucky they have sumac, and not like some neighbors up the road that have tree of heaven that goes crazy, which is extremely invasive. So that's a practice that needs to stop. One of the ways you might manage that is conservation markers. Don't go touching it being below that. Possibly you want to consider putting in some conservation markers as well, depending upon what happens on this impervious material. And I think the whole catwalk conversation being closer is strictly a coverage, which the commission also has to take into consideration as per Chapter 505.
Thank you, Bill. Rick, I had looked at that detail, and I thought it was the typical detail we've seen from you and Terry in the past is,
Yes. That is the intention. Bill, I don't know if there's an adjustment you can make. I got the gist of what you guys are saying there, but it's really broken up. As far as our intention is to have this be completely pervious, as is the homeowners. The crusher run, I see that. That is the same detail that we always use, but
Yeah, I get you.
the intention is we'll use whatever material we condition here to make this pervious. Eliminate the crusher run, use just gravel, clean gravel.
Well, there's other sands too,
Right.
Rick, that are pervious, that'll let you water pour through. They're pretty good quality, and so if you use that, you change your plan and get it to the commission or the conservation department by 12 noon Friday, what is it, the 4th or something? Then maybe that's something that the commission can consider as a condition, if that's the case, because that's a big change right there.
yeah, you certainly used a detail similar to that before that we accepted, so you must have it on file. And as far as conservation markers, did you have a particular location in mind, Bill? I thought maybe along the existing lawn line.
Yeah, let me zoom out and see what we can find. I didn't want to get prescriptive, but yeah, we better do that to make life easy for Rick. So I think this blue line here is where it drops off.
Existing line, yes.
Yeah, so like right along there, 30 to 40 inches out of the ground, because what we've been having, Rick, is people been driving them 6 inches off the ground, and they just don't work, so we need something that works. So 30 to 60 off, 40 off the ground. And probably starting down, I don't know. There's some stones down in here, and maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 to get across, Rick. We just did 6 on the other property you saw. They looks like about 250 feet or something. I don't have a line drawer. So.
Not quite that far. It's probably about 120 feet. The lot's 100 feet deep.
Gotcha. I totally maxed that out. So I don't know, 5 or 6 then.
Okay. Yep. And spaced them out. And that lawn line pretty much coincides with the top of the slope there also. they got a nice bird feeder out there. It's kind of in the area where I would envision these going.
They can put these on a bird feeder too, you know.
Well,
I mean,
I was gonna talk to and I believe that John and Tony are in the audience too, if you wanted to comment on that.
And ceasing the cutting of the trees, it can't go on anymore, because downgrading these markers is a no-touch area. Yeah.
What's the issue with the catwalk? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, when I looked at it, I missed the no ground supports, and I thought it was on the ground or had supports, and so therefore it'd be an alteration. An alteration's a little more significant than a coverage. So what you have is a coverage getting closer towards the wetlands versus an alteration. So the commission just needs to be made aware of that. I kind of blew it when I wrote it up.
Yeah, my feeling is it's a small area, and we're getting the mitigation of all this pervious pavers
stuff.
and the conservation markers.
Is this like a metal gangway, like you use in a dock or a
Yes.
pier?
Yeah.
It is, okay.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Why didn't you run it
Something's
through?
made up.
So Rick,
Yeah, something will be made off-site and brought to the site and mounted to the building.
So it's kind of like a dock, so you should have run it through Rick Carberry, because
Yeah.
he's the dock hearing officer.
I was hoping for a rope swing, to
Yeah.
connect the two decks.
Yeah, rope swing, yeah.
Other comments or questions from other commissioners?
So, no planning, right? No planning? All right.
No, I mean, I think any of
Alrighty.
that sumac that was cut, it'll be back again in the spring.
Right.
And let it go, because there's
roots.
another tree that's worse than it, and it'll create shade to keep that out of there, okay? And it won't get huge. It won't get so high.
So since the homeowners are here, you understand what we're talking about with the conservation markers, just at the limit of where your lawn is now. You can't do anything beyond that. You can't throw your clippings over or anything like that. In that case, so Bill, the conditions are, Rick will revise the
Yeah,
detail.
Right.
And add the conservation markers,
right.
and get that to you by what date?
And also, Rick, the pervious materials in the cross-section, okay? Friday? What's Friday? Does anybody know?
I think it's the 4th, isn't
I
it?
believe Craig is right.
The 4th.
It's the 4th. So 12 noon, Friday the 4th, the commission needs the plan with 5 or 6 conservation markers shown on that blue line, which is the edge of the grass, and then the pervious materials that you'll be using, sand or whatever, so that the commission has the mitigation it was looking for.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah?
Any comments from the audience? Public? I see nobody here. Anybody on Zoom? I hear none. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions. Do I get a second?
Second.
Second is Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
600, Bill.
Excellent. Another one done. Well done, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Rick.
You have a great day. Yeah, you can get the markers you can get from us for free. We're just gonna have them 30 to 40 inches out of the ground. That's it. I gotta put that out. 30 to 40.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the freeze.
All right.
Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. It's been great.
Bye, Rick. Take care of yourself.
Okay, we are now on
Spring left, right?
to 226
Right.
26 Bay Ave. This is a misprint in the,
Oh, boy, did I do it again? Well, where?
okay. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, to consider the notice of intent filed by Kevin Sullivan, 226 Bay Avenue. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Loggy.
All right.
So before you get going, so your taxes are all set. They're out on the 21st. The abutters have been notified. You have a DEP number. The legal ad was sent on the 19th and is published on the 26th. And here's your copy, Jeff.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, so there's, on this one, there's a considerable history on the background, and we have, Andrew has 6 comments included in that, and I think everyone's familiar with this. So is there someone here to present?
Good evening, Kevin Sullivan. My address is 229 Bay Avenue, across the street. I'm here on behalf of my mother. This is our family house, 226. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, not a misprint, sorry, all right.
Go right ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So I know there has been some considerable background and back and forth on this project, so I will spare everyone the torturous details, but as this commission's aware, we received unanimous approval from the commission on June 3rd of this year to perform the proposed scope of work, which essentially is from a conservation commission standpoint, enclosing an existing porch to first floor living space for my mother. We're converting a seasonal home into her year-round home. We haven't proposed any additional work or expansion of the work area, and just as the commission's aware, for the benefit of the record, the house is already elevated well above the design flood elevation. It's at 15.7 feet now. It's on an open pile type foundation that does have footings and allows for the unencumbered literal movement of sand and water underneath the house. We ran into an issue with the building inspector when we filed for the building permit, and it was the topic of this commission's conversation or discussion earlier this evening about the conflict of potential tension between the commission's regulations and the building code. And it was I approached the board and was before this board on November 16th of last year, at which time the commission unanimously approved the introduction of additional fill and sand below the house. It's an existing garage area, so to bring the base elevation or the below grade elevation of the house such that you can see in that image the shaded area, approximately 39 yards of sand and fill to fill an existing subsurface garage to comply with the floodplain requirements. This commission unanimously approved that activity is a de minimis activity, and the only question that remained as to, I've had extensive conversations with Andrew and Bill about this, as to what level of additional activity would be required relative to the existing foundations of the height of the house, which are open pile and cinder block foundations, which is you're standing under, you can see all the way around. The purpose of this amended order of conditions is to ask this board to confirm its agreement that provided that we perform the additional mitigation work above and beyond which was originally required by this board for the proposed scope of work and fill the area as approved in the de minimis activity approval, that the commission will not require any additional changes or modifications to the existing open pile type foundation of the house, which as noted will be in full compliance with all applicable floodplain requirements. So I'm happy to provide any more detail if folks are interested in hearing that, but I think that at least sets the stage for the purposes of your discussion.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I think there's a number of players here. Craig's been involved, Mr. Sullivan's been involved, he just gave his 2 cents. Bill Finn's been involved, and I've been involved. So I'll just try to paraphrase, and they can fill in where they feel appropriate. This particular permitting mechanism is the appropriate way to go at the highest level for something like this, which is ancillary to the proposed work, which was the former lateral move, or addition, which went up on piles correctly. It was then permitted. The applicable appeal periods have elapsed so that those are all done. There's been no complaints, there's been no appeals, etc. We're back here for a minor activity, the fill of the crawl space and the breakup of the slab. That's really what the work is all about. There have been further discussions that have been helpful. Building department has a building code saying that something like this doesn't actually need to go up on piles if it is only for interior work which is driving it. That's true of the other property as well. So that being said, you're really looking at the fill and the slab and removal, and you'd already given this a de minimis, so it appears that it would be appropriate at this point in time to approve this as a amended order of conditions with one caveat. Under the town bylaw, we have this interesting regulation 307.2 that we adopted and needs a little tweaking. So the possibility is there that some form of manner of addressing it, perhaps as variance would be appropriate under the town bylaw only. And so if the commission wanted to, discuss that as a possibility, it could be then considered as a DO special condition on the town bylaw permit special conditions only, that the 307.2 was not applicable in this case. The commission has that option to manage that under the town bylaw, and you're at limited risk.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend that we approve an amended order of conditions, but anyone, commissioners, other commissioners?
Oh, looks
Fine,
good.
okay. Anyone from the audience? How about by Zoom?
We,
Hearing, go ahead, Craig.
we need to approve the variance.
Under the town bylaw only.
Bylaw.
So you need to have a
Because-
discussion about that.
Because the building commissioner has
Right.
deemed this a substantial improvement, and the way our bylaw is written, anything deemed a substantial improvement needs to be on open tiles. We need to grant a variance in this case, as we have not had time to revise our regulation yet.
Which is the non-form discussion we
that
had
sounds
earlier.
yeah. Yeah, that sounds
Any
right.
commissioners
Just the point of
object?
the variance is normally you would have to advertise that,
Well,
ahead of
there are
time.
many ways of doing it, and I guess there's tradition versus, where the commission wants to be. This commission is different from the last commission. I'm different from the prior administrator. I would say that the way it has been done before is these variances come in two forms. Some are applied in advance. That's probably the perfect way of having them happen. However, they've also been discussed during hearings, and then they've been matriculated into the special conditions.
that'll
Okay?
work.
Right, but so I think we've had discussions before on variances that we would consider them on a very rare occasion, very special uses. I think this one's is different.
Yeah, I think it is
I
unique.
don't see
Yeah,
this as
This is unique.
special, yeah. So I would support that. So Craig, do you want a separate motion to do that, or do you want it incorporated
I can
into
read it
the
in.
one
I
motion?
think Bill is going to read it in to the conditions.
Okay, so then would make a motion to close and issue order
All
of
right.
conditions, special conditions. I have just one question on that. Is that, are we approving an amended order of conditions?
Yes. So the amended order conditions are two species. There's the state version.
Right.
which we will not be discussing the variance, you did not discuss the variance on tonight. You only discuss the variance on the town version. So therefore, there will be standard special conditions under the state, but under the town, there will be a DO commission comment about pilings. And it'll basically say that the Conservation Commission has approved the variance to Chapter 505, 3.07.2. Piles are not required as per these amended ordinance conditions. Done.
Thank you for the clarification. And you want to do a quick summary of the special conditions?
I could read them all, but you've
Just
heard them
these
so many
four?
times.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
right, I'm fine
just
with
for
it if
Mr.
everybody
Sullivan's
else is fine.
edification, they're standard, you already got them on your prior permit, and the only thing that's gonna be different is on the town, special conditions, is we're gonna add the variance in on the DO special conditions to solidify the commission's position, that they're not requiring you to go up on piles as per the bylaw.
Thank you. Second? Do I have a second? Joe, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
600.
Okay then. Who was that second, Joe?
Joe?
Quick on that, Joe, all right. All right, Mr. Sullivan, you're all set. We'll work on your orders and conditions. You need to record them. You do need to put up a DEP sign that says amended, not just regular. We can work with you on that. And this would be clean compatible fill that will go in the subsurface area, okay?
Be good. I'll be in touch, Bill. I'll give you a call.
Very good, sir.
Thank
Take
you
care.
for your patience, Mr. Sullivan. Sorry it took so long.
I appreciate the commission's commitment to figuring this issue out. I know that there's not just our home, but others that will be around the corner and coming down the pike for you. And it sounds like there's a fix in the works, and I'm hoping that the rest of the folks behind me won't have to wait the same length of time. But I'm glad that we're at a successful outcome. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, continuations. 0 Little's Lane, extend ramp and float, SE 422966. The applicant requested a continuation to March 1st, 2022 in writing on 1/27/22. I move that we vote to continue this to the March 1st, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant. May I have a second?
Second.
Art,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
outstanding.
12 Branch Street, Trochy, raise and rebuild, SE 422951. I move that we vote to continue this to April 5th, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, that's a toughie. Susan, okay then.
All in favor?
Aye.
274 Foster Avenue, elevate single-family home, SE 422958. I move that we vote to continue to, is that March 1st? I have a bad copy here.
Yep.
Yeah.
March 1st, 2022, public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe,
All in favor?
Aye.
202 Moraine Street, the Sealand Corp. Red Gold Farm subdivision, SE 422960. I move that we vote to continue to the February 15th, 2022 public meeting as per the request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Art,
All in favor?
Aye.
And 76 Carolyn Circle, the dock system, SE 422950. I move that we vote to continue this to the February 15th, 2022 public meeting as per the request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, we have a couple continuations. I have one enforcement order and several extensions at the very, 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 very end. COCs.
Yeah,
it's on page 18.
SE 420811, Volpe, on 5 Bryant's Lane. This is, I'm gonna let you explain this, Bill.
Yeah, so I gave you the write-up, you saw that. Basically, a little bit complicated. The house looks like everything that was required of it got done, okay? However, in the recent past, around 2019 or 20, a patio was put in attaching to the seawall, and I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. It created a little bit of back and forth with Mr. Volpe and I, and they started producing some additional documents. He had been given a eminent domain by the Department of Public Works for, I don't know if I can show this, for the area that you see on page 18 there, okay? In front, there is a paved area that's pervious pavers, apparently. And they were given, all the neighbors were given some options at colors and so on. The commission then approved the as-built July 20, 2021 for the seawall work, including that paver area. So a little bit of an oversight on my side, and next time it won't happen. But there's some steps that communication problems that we had here too. We should have heard earlier about the eminent domain. Now we're working on another section right now, and we'll catch it there, because this is going to flush itself out. This is a progressive movement in the right direction. So, in other words, Volpe 5 Bryant's is going to be under the permit that was already approved, 2673 for the patio, and I don't think we can go backwards on that. So I think that they
Right.
are eligible for a certificate of compliance based on that. The guy's been nothing but diligent, and, you know, if he needed to get a permit, he would've got a permit if he knew in
Right.
advance. Okay.
Well, in that case, I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-811. May I have a second?
Second.
All in
Art.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, he'll be happy, great,
SE 42-2666,
yes.
Howley 225 Bay Avenue. This is another slightly complicated one, but they are looking for an extension. Given the tolling, we are able to extend this to September 27th, 2025.
Right, and for the town only, because there's a superseding order of conditions on this,
conditions.
which takes the commission out of that particular part of the permit, and only remaining part is the town version. So he's looking to get this extension on the town only, and so the way it's written up to the September 27, 2025, town only.
Okay.
We have that all written up nicely.
So I move that we vote to issue an extension of SE 42-2666, Town Order of Conditions Only, to September 27th, 2025, taking into account the complaint remand to the Superior Court dated 9/27/2019 that expires on 9/27/2020, 2022, not including tolling.
Right.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that cleans up everything. So this guy will be back, you know, beyond tolling and set.
Okay. SE 42-2776, Murphy, Brewster Road, Chilton Road, an extension. Again, this is a vote to issue an extension to the order of conditions to bring it into coincidence with SE 42-2887, which is linked to this project. So I move that we vote to issue this extension, SE 42-2776, order of conditions to 6/8/2024, to coincide with the expiration date of SE 42-2887, which is linked to this project. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got it.
SE 42-2803, 205 Bay Avenue. This is, okay, this is, involves raising a single-family home and reconstructing due to difficult site conditions. The applicant is requesting additional time. The current expiration is
Typo.
May 28th, 2022, making the 3-year extension to May 28th, 2025. I move that we vote to issue an extension of SE 42-2803, order of conditions, to May 28th, 2025. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I don't know if you noticed what's going on there, but the tolling has become complicated, and wherever we can, we're trying to work with the applicants to clean that up and get them beyond that. There's only 462 days of total tolling, and that means all of it expires something like September 20, 2022. To the extent we can get out of that, it will create less of a wrangle. We had a couple properties that were locked up in that, and then it required town council feedback. The last thing is the enforcement order. I can give you a quick summary on this. So the package came back either yesterday or today that was sent out in December, and I was advised by town council to hand deliver it, so I went to hand deliver it with a police officer today, and it looks like nobody's in the house. So I don't know what's going on. I'll try again next couple of days to deliver it. I've advised town council John Whitten about that. Bob Galvin cannot oversee this one because he at one point had been a client. So he did the right thing and he handed it off to John Whitten. Mike Maresco allowed that. So that being said, I don't know where we're going with this one. This has been a long, winding road, that's all I'll say. And
Continues.
it continues, yeah.
So I move that we vote to table this discussion to
Okay,
the
15.
February 15th, 2022
Great.
Commission public meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, and I move that we close the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of February 1st, 2022. We are adjourned.
Oh, no, you don't, no motion, nothing? You don't need to vote?
You technically don't need to vote on an adjournment. You don't need a
Okay.
second.
Robert's rules.
Okay, no vote, no, nothing. All right.